This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon, everybody. A special warm welcome to the kids of Shikla Elementary in Michigan, Anthony Burns Elementary in Virginia, and Pembroke Meadows Elementary, also in Virginia Beach. 2 of you have joined us before, 2 of you haven't. Welcome especially to those who are our new School Kids Safari viewers. Hello, my name is James Henry. On camera today we have got Sens or Three Fingers and Mkhize, and a new car owner, but that's another story. Wonderful to have you all with us. Please ask us as many questions as you'd like to during the course of this little show. We've got the next 45 minutes on safari with you. We've got over there a kudu, an enormous big kudu, and in this area that is the biggest antelope that we find. Well, sort of. It's a very big one. It's one of the biggest ones we get here. We also get wildebeest, of course, which are slightly larger than those on average. Now, it's a pretty hot day out here. It's probably close to about 96 degrees Fahrenheit or so, but there's a nice breeze blowing, so that's very pleasant. And hopefully we will also be taking you up to Kenya, where Lauren is going to be taking you around the Masai Mara, which is another beautiful game reserve, 1,600 miles from where we are here. So Africa, of course, is an enormous continent, and well, it's just brilliant to be able to be broadcasting to you from 2 locations. We, of course, are in South Africa, on the western fringes of the great Kruger National Park, a world-famous game reserve, and it's a huge pleasure to have you on board with us. As you can see, that kudu is having a good meal. They're currently enjoying a lot the flowers that we get out here, the wild flowers. Caleb, the vegetation that we get out here is known as mixed combretum woodland. Now, that's not very helpful, of course, because you don't really know what a combretum is. Most of the trees that we get here are from the genus combretum, otherwise known in English the bush willows. And in fact, of the trees that you're looking at in that picture, the big ones to your right are all bush willow trees, a big thicket of bush willow trees, and we've got lots of different kinds of them, and they're the dominant tree in this area. And it's called woodland because, well, although this particular area that we're sitting in now could be more accurately described as savanna, because there's a lot of grass and there is the odd tree dotted in amongst the grass, most of this area has slightly more trees than this picture is showing you, and so that's why it's called woodland. Up in the Masai Mara, it's definitely a savanna and a grassland. In other words, there are far fewer trees than there are over here in the greater Kruger National Park of South Africa. Alrighty, let us go across to Taylor McCurdy, who is driving not too far from here. She's also in the western fringes of the great Kruger National Park, and I'm sure she's going to tell you something very interesting.
Hello, everybody. Yes, James is right. I just saw him a moment ago. He's just around the bend, if you will, and we have got a herd of elephants. I'm kind of glad James didn't get to see them because now I get to have them all for myself. My name is Taylor, and on camera with me today is Craig. You can call him Batman, though. He goes out in a Batman suit every single day. Can you believe that? And it's really hot here. So remember, if you've got any questions, you can just ask your teacher, and then they will ask us. How wonderful. So this is really cool. Look how strong she is. I don't think I'd be able to pick up that stick. That's massive. Now you can see why you should never ever mess with an elephant. How cool is that? Now they're all gathered in a bunch like this under a marula tree, which is their favorite tree at this time of the year. And the reason why they love the marula trees because it's got delicious fruit. So we'll try and find some of the fruit. It only fruits between January and March. Now, Mr. Davis, you've inquired about what animals migrate. Well, I suppose Elephants constantly are on a type of a migration. I suppose a lot of different animals. I mean, the most famous migration is, of course, the wildebeest in Kenya and into Tanzania. And then, of course, there's a big bat migration, which is the biggest mammal migration in the world. That is in Kasanka in Zambia. But elephants are constantly on the go. So they don't mark and defend their territories like a leopard might. They'll actually keep moving around looking for the juiciest leaves and tastiest grass and the purest water to drink. So if that's not in this area, well, then they get on the move and off they go in search of something else. And they can travel huge distances every single day. So there we go. There's lots of different animals. Birds are probably some of the biggest migrators. They go all over. Look at that little elephant in there. What are you doing? What have you found on the ground? That's a very young one. It looks like it's trying to pull the grass out. Kerry, now I think it's very difficult to compare a hippo with an elephant because they're kind of nothing alike. Elephants are much bigger. Hippos are very small in comparison to a hippo, although they're quite wide, the hippopotamus, quite long, but they don't have big tusks like this. They don't have big ears. Their eyes also in a different place, and they definitely don't have that long trunk sticking out of their nose, or sticking out from their face. Maybe we'll be able to see some hippos a little bit later. And then I think one of the biggest differences that hippos spend most of their day in water, whereas elephants are typically terrestrial, so they live on land. Although elephants love to spend time in water. Now, I don't know why that elephant is biting that stick, because that's like chewing on an old boot. That wouldn't be very nice at all. And it's normally only in the winter months that we see elephants stripping the bark off of trees and digging for roots and then chewing on big branches like this to get something to eat. But they don't have to do that at this time of the year because it's so green. Zander, now you've asked about the temperature in South Africa. It gets very, very hot. And I'm not sure what the temperature is right now because I'm not very good at listening. And Faith has already told me twice today, but I've forgotten. But I'm going to go ahead and guess it feels about 36 degrees Celsius, 36 or 37 degrees Celsius. So at this time of the year, or from December to about February, you can expect temperatures anywhere between the mid-80s all the way to about 110 degree Fahrenheit. And it's 95 degree Fahrenheit right now. So I was right, because it's 35 degrees Celsius. And that's why these elephants have to flap their ears like they're doing. You see that? Sometimes if you sit very quietly and they're really close, you can even hear it. But not today. So they're using those big ears to cool themselves down. And then if you look very closely, you can see how dirty the elephants are. Look at that. Sis, did they not have a shower last night? But that's also how they keep themselves nice and cool. They'll cover themselves with mud. Now, Amelia, I've never read anything where it says how much an elephant can lift with its trunk, but elephants are incredibly strong. They've got over 60,000 muscles in their trunks. Also, the number of muscles in their trunks varies depending on what book you read or depending on what safari guide you speak to. So you have to listen to me today. But what elephants will do, and there'll be big, huge logs, big trees that they maybe pushed over the year before. And when we start moving into winter and all this nice green grass that you see disappears, the elephants have to work a little bit harder to find their food. And one of the things they start doing is that they start picking up these huge logs that they've maybe the big trees that they pushed over the year before. And underneath that, or just next to it, is lots of nice lush grass growing. So they can do that with ease. You never know, someone might demonstrate to us how strong elephants really are. But that tree that they're standing behind, an elephant bull can very, very easily push that whole thing over. Do you believe me? I wish one of them would do so, because it's a pretty amazing thing to witness. Jemaya, yes, I have been bitten by a variety of different animals. Termites, I've been bitten by a termite before. That was very embarrassing because I tried to pick it up and then it gripped hold of the inside of my hand and wouldn't let go, and it made me bleed. So they've got big pincers. I haven't been bitten by a snake. Remember, you mustn't pick up snakes or any animal that you don't know what it is. So I haven't. What have I been bitten by? I've been bitten by many lizards before because I picked them up when I shouldn't have picked them up and they bit me. And then I've been stung by lots of things. I've had a scorpion sting me before. Then I had a weird thing happen to me while I was in Sri Lanka. In Sri Lanka, they've got elephants, but it's not the African elephant. It's the Asian elephant. So they're a little bit smaller and they don't have as big ears and their skin is quite smooth. And there are these elephants that stand on the sides of the roads of the national parks because there's no fences there, so they can just move wherever they like. And unfortunately, people have started feeding them, which is not good. Remember, you mustn't feed the wild animals. If you go into a national park, you don't need to feed the birds birdseed. You don't need to throw any fruit or even any kind of meat out to any of the animals. They can do fine on their own. So people started feeding them. And it's a bit of a cultural belief. We're not going to really go into that, though. And we stopped next to the car, had some guests, and we were having a little look around, and this elephant was quite relaxed. Next to him, it walked right up to the vehicle. So I said to my guests, like, just sit quietly, don't make any sudden movements. And this elephant took its trunk and stuck it into the car and onto my lap. And I didn't know what to do. I froze. I was like, what is this elephant doing? And it was searching for fruit. And it took my hand with its trunk and it lifted it up. I'm so scared. It was terrifying. I was terrified. And then put it down. It was very gentle, though. And then when I realized I didn't have any fruit, it moved away. But you wouldn't want an elephant or anything like that doing it to you. So that was pretty scary. Not that it bit me or anything. I wouldn't want to be bitten by an elephant. That would be terrible. It would not be nice at all. But their trunks were very slimy. Lots and lots of mucus at the end of them. This is really fascinating watching them pick up all the bark. I don't know what they're doing. It's really strange. You see, they're just sort of putting them in their mouths. They don't really seem to even be chewing them. Do you think it's an elephant toothpick? Maybe they've got some leaves stuck between their teeth? Trevor, unfortunately, most of the wildlife all over the world is under threat because of humans. So yes, elephants definitely could potentially go extinct one day. But right now, their populations in Africa are fine. They're sort of stable at the moment. But there's been this constant battle between rhinos and elephants for hundreds and thousands of years, where the rhino population is under threat, and then the elephant population is under threat, and then one population improves and then the others decrease. So it kind of happens all the time. And we see that with a lot of animals, not just the big animals like the elephants and the rhinos and the whales and the dolphins and tigers and lions. It goes right down to some of the smaller animals like birds and pangolin or armadillos. So we have to be very, very careful about what we do. And the biggest threat to animals is humans, because we cause a lot of problems for these animals. We obviously need somewhere to live, but the animals want to live somewhere too, and they were here first. And it's called sort of human-wildlife conflict. But I don't know if I always agree with that term, because it makes it feel like the animals are doing bad things to us, don't you think? When they're just trying to live their lives. They don't know any different. They just want to walk wherever they are able to walk to try and find food and water. And we've put these restrictions up, unfortunately. So that's a big problem. So that's what you often sort of hear of. I saw a lot of it in Sri Lanka as well, where animals come into the rice paddy fields, especially elephants, and they cause a lot of destruction. But we as humans have caused a lot of habitat loss for these sort of wild animals. But there's lots of other things that can cause the extinction of animals, but we're lucky. So we should just appreciate every single time we see a wild animal in its natural environment. We must, yes, enjoy it. Look how she's resting up against that tree. Can you see that? That big elephant cow. She's tired now. She's had a long day walking around. She's now stopped. But she was leaning up against it. She had her back legs crossed. Right, I'm very sorry to do this to all of you. Unfortunately, it seems as though we're having some technical problems. So I know all of you watching from the schools today will be a little bit disappointed, but don't be. We're going to do a quick reboot, so don't go anywhere, and we'll be back with you in a moment.